Good afternoon, everyone. It is time to talk about the greater good. I am Mr. Brad Chester, the oldest man in 40K, and I really goofed Brandon's picture up right now. Let's see what I can do about that as I'm looking at it going, ooh, that looks bizarre.
Another day, another technological issue with Brad.
What?
But while he works on that, I'm Brandon Valley, a man who is really obsessed with crude.
We are going to talk about the greater good. You know why it's messed up? Because we have a two-man situation instead of a three or more man situation. So I'm just going to stretch you out. You're going to look real hefty right today. You gained a little bit of weight. You got real roomy, thick through the hips.
I'm judging you so much right now. You can just make it like slightly more narrow, like it's supposed to be. There you go.
Nope, stretched it back out.
Ugh.
I like everything about that.
You were the worst, just so you know.
Fight me. You didn't even show up, Garrett, for the Death Guard. And Death Guard were significantly better than I thought they were going to be. But let's talk about the greater good, everyone. It's time for the space lies to be told.
Let's pour one out for all the drones everywhere.
Everyone was victim to drone shenanigans. Yeah, that's why.
Pour one out right now.
Let's talk about the world's most wordy explanation for an army-wide rule. For the greater good. If you're
You don't have to double check that and see how many words are actually in here compared to all the other ones.
I mean, it's pretty wordy. I mean, they do stuff and things. Let's talk about this. Basically, you can have one unit observe and another unit is guided, and that unit gets +1. You know what? It says it right underneath here. So let's just talk about that. So they effectively went, select an observer unit to support a guided unit and targeting a single enemy unit. The guided unit gets +1 to their ballistic skill when shooting the target, while the observer shoots as normal. Even if an enemy knocks out your precious marker lights, you get to keep shooting because you ignore cover if the spotted unit has the marker light special ability. Well, that was simple, wasn't it? I actually went to the summary as opposed to actually reading the actual rule. Exactly, drones, the new basic material for all.
I'm so sad about that.
And we will talk about that in just a moment because, yeah, this looks pretty good, man. I mean, you're literally getting
it's
+1.
a very solid rule.
And because it's not like they don't get to shoot. At first I was like, well, I'm not shooting every other unit, but like your one unit's guiding, the other unit's not getting the +1. Plus, they also have other marker lights out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the observer unit still gets to shoot. It just doesn't get the bonuses for being guided.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is a legit rule because you're just getting +1 like everywhere, basically. Like half your units are going to get just +1, period, and then you're also going to get the effective marker lights. You know what I mean? So
what this does do, though, and that's something to keep in mind too. You have to read the second bullet point. Each time a guided unit makes an attack that does not target their spotted unit, worsen their ballistic skill by 1. So if you decide to like split fire, I'm assuming split fire is a mechanic that's still in the rules, but if you split fire, sure, that one unit's gonna be hitting on 3s, but everyone else is gonna be hitting on 4s, 5s, right?
Sure.
So that's, you got to make sure you're focusing your fire, so it's gonna discourage larger units.
Or I was just about to say, MSU for days, baby.
Yeah, you gotta take all those small units.
Yeah, exactly. Zoom's got it. On a Tuesday, if it's raining and Brad's on RTT where a Wraith Knight wins, you can re-roll the third dice roll if it landed closer to a Guardian drone than a gun drone. And you know what? That explains this mechanic perfectly, my friend. This is why you know the law. Let's talk about this detachment rule. Yo. From the third battle round onwards, all ranged weapons equipped by models from your army have the sustained hits ability. While a unit is guided, it has sustained hits too. What the fuck? That's
this is the same way it is now, but
No,
they
it's
got
not.
rid of the range restrictions, so
It
they
is
made
not.
it better.
It's not. I'm saying it's so much better than before. It is no range restriction, and it also half of your army again is going to be guided because half your units are going to spot. You know what I mean? The other half are going to be guided. Dude, double exploding sixes for your guns. That's pretty fucking good. What I do want to know is how that's going to work with things like Overwatch and whatnot. But whatever. But
I don't see why it wouldn't work in Overwatch.
yeah, I mean, dude, double exploding sixes when you're shooting like plasma or fusion seems legit, or a rail rifle.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, yeah, man, like I can get down with that. That seems fucking good.
So something to also keep in mind too. So there's going to be multiple detachments. So every army is going to get 3 different types of detachments. So there's going to be a Monka one, and it's probably going to be reroll once to wound or something. Who knows what it is? And that's going to be the first 3 turns.
And look at there's Any right there who we invited to show up today, and then he just didn't. What a dude, man! He's just ruining things.
Your wolves are getting no explosions. I'm calling it right now.
Quad explosions. Is that like quad fisting?
That's what I do.
Unmodified as well. It's legit. They have unmodified now. You only get 6s. Right now, Cayenne only explodes on natural 6s. So, double exploding 6s is just boss mode. As someone that plays some Space Wolves with double exploding 6s, it feels good. You know what feels even better? Shooting meltas and shit at people with double exploding 6s. You're like, why get close to...
You're not arguing about line of sight. You're not arguing about closest units. You don't have to worry about range. Like, it doesn't have to be the closest one inside a certain range. Way more simple. It's beautiful. I love it.
I mean, it's super powerful. It's way simpler. I think this Cayenne is nuts. This is just gross.
Yeah, and you could put, your crisis suits and deep strikes and stuff in strategic reserve and play the game like most of us Tau players have been playing all night.
Yeah, I mean, this is super strong. Like, holy shit strong. Like, double exploding 6s on big ass guns is fucking crazy talk, especially, and it also is going to be nuts when you fire those burst cannons and volume shots, Tau flamers with burst cannon kind of units. You're going to get all of the hits. I mean, that's going to be nuts.
And what happens if like the Cyclonic Ion Blaster or the burst cannon has sustained hits already? So you'll get maybe triple shots.
Triple. Or will it be quad? Quad explosions.
Maybe. Who knows?
Dude.
So many explosions.
Let's talk about this Pathfinder unit. Because they have basically been hit by a tornado of dicks for a lot of the editions.
Well, they're more durable now. Didn't they have a 5-up save for the longest time? Yeah,
they sucked. So, but I like, they have Scout 7, which means they can move 7. I like the fact that it's a pretty big deal that they can use the greater good ability twice. So they can observe for 2 different units, which is a big deal. And they can change the enemy that they're looking at. So they can literally put...
you killed that squad? All right, now I'm going to look at this squad.
Right. Their war gear is pretty bad. Beast mode. We'll see about how many weapons they can get with it. So -2 to charge. Add 6 to the range of their carbines. And bears equipped with 1 drone burst cannon. With the bears unit has the infiltrator's ability, which was the minus to hit. And they can just set up on the board anywhere. But I wonder how many rail rifles you're going to be able to have in the squad. Because right now it's 3, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's talk.
I'm going to go with the assumption it's still going to be 3 rail rifles or 3 on rifles.
I mean, rail rifles are pretty badass now, dude. 1, heavy, which means if they don't move, +1 to hit. 2, devastating wounds, which means anytime you get a 6 to wound, they're doing 3 mortals because it's the damage of the weapon. That's nasty. You know what I mean? Oh, yeah. What I want to know is what goes on with devastating wounds? Because if I have... Ready? I shoot this rail rifle. I've somebody guided the Pathfinders, okay? So they are now shooting. They're in Cayenne, so they're getting double exploding 6s. 6s to wound, or that. You're going to get 3 hits, and then you got the opportunity with that one-shot weapon to do 9. That's good, man. I mean,
I think you're confusing the rules together there, Brad.
no. I'm not saying you. I'm saying you have the potential for 9.
Yeah, one shot where you could get 3 instead of one
Exactly.
shot. And then you have 3 opportunities to roll that 6.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. You have the potential to do a shit ton of damage. It's also a strike 10 gun, AP 4/3 damage. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 30-inch range. Fantastic.
I mean, this shit's. They have like a shit ton of things, and they also have the grenade rule. Grenade rule also pretty badass. I don't know if that's been actually really put out yet. I'm confusing now the leaks and the things that they've revealed.
The grenade rule has not been put out yet by GW.
Okay.
Just that the leak that was out. But
okay.
I believe it's
good.
6 mortals or something.
No, it's a lot actually. So it's against vehicles, but we'll talk. We won't talk about that. But it's look at the leak. It's really good. Yeah, Sue's got the sprue has 3 rail rifles, so probably staying. This unit seems legit now. The fact that they can spot for 2 different people is a big deal, and having 3 rail rifles in it seems like it's gonna be legit. They still have a durability issue, so they're effectively going to spot, and then someone's going to just David Copperfield them and disappear them. So,
Or Brad, hear me out. Let's go all the way down to the stratagem.
All right, hold on. Do we want to go to stratagem, or you want to look at the portal off of the drones?
We're going to jump at the stratagem because I feel like this is very important.
We're going to scroll down. I mean, you're talking about doing a backflip with someone that's charging, though. I'm talking about shooting.
Yeah, but this stratagem is perfect for them. So they're going to take that devilfish. They're going to give it a scout move because scout goes onto the transport that they're attached to. So it gets a pre-game move. Then you can disembark. You won't get the heavy roll that work, but you just jump back in and fish your fury this stuff. This is a fantastic rule.
Oh, it's
like this reminds me of 4th edition playing Tau Fish of Fury.
Yes, but I'm going to shoot those guys in their face.
100%.
You're like, I'm just not having them all do wacky backflips into their devilfish.
I want my wacky backflip back in the devilfish with Dark Strider attached to the unit.
Woo! Just flipping back.
Yes.
And this is any Tau infantry unit, so that's a big deal.
So they have to go to transport. So does that apply to like the Forge World models, the Orca, where the crisis suits can jump out and jump back in?
Nope. It applies to the Manta.
I thought the Orca is a transport.
I don't know. I know the Manta is a transport.
The Manta, yeah, it's a 2,000 point transport.
2,000 point transport that can carry like 20,000 points of shit inside of it.
But overall, what do you think of this stratagem? I think it's a really solid stratagem because it's going to encourage you to bring tanks. You're going to use the tanks as the spotters, right? And then you're going to be using it to buff whatever unit is next where that tank is.
I mean,
and then you get the opportunity to put them out and take them back so they don't get charged.
I hope that indirect costs $1 million. By the way, I agree with everybody on this. Zoobs and KR made a point. He's like, these guys survive indirect. The answer is no, and they definitely have to get killed because man, if you let, and we'll see what the points obviously are, but like if you let this Pathfinder unit sit around, not only can it do a decent amount of damage, but the fact that it can just buff 2 different units is really efficient. Yeah, we're talking about that. Karen and I talked about that yesterday. The fact that blast is per weapon, so if you have units of indirect guys, each one's got a gun, you're like, oh, I saw that you've got a 20-man unit. Looks like we're gonna fire 1 million.
It's like, hey, I have 10 desolators here. Oh man, looks like they do a minimum 5
Yeah.
plus D6. Minimum 5 per guy plus D6.
Whoa! Don't. It's D3. No, don't sell them too much. So
D3.
So
that's still a lot, though, Brad. That's so many shots.
Well, you've got. It's no big deal. It's just 50 plus D3. So let's talk about these drones.
All right. So I would say overall, I'm very impressed with the Tau, except for the drones. I feel like, I don't know, I have mixed feelings on them. I can see the positives of having the drones like this, but there's also a lot of negatives of having the drones like this. So what are your thoughts, Brad?
I think that the shield drone was too powerful for too long, and now GW's like, fuck those guys. So basically just adding a wound. Yeah, flick, get out of here.
Bless you.
Yeah, I'm allergic to the outside. If I was only on my home planet, I'd be so powerful. Um, I like.
So I was thinking about this while I was at the grocery store this morning. At what point value does it become worthwhile to have a shield drone provide +1 wound?
It's got to be super cheap.
That's what I'm thinking. Like, so for so there's certain units that aren't going to benefit at all. Like fire warriors aren't going to benefit. Who cares if one guy has an additional wound? It doesn't matter.
You're
However,
gonna put this on maybe a character.
I think you put on crisis suits. If crisis suits still have 4 wounds, bold assumption, they still have 4 wounds, and giving each crisis suit +1 wound, that does throw off the math on killing them. So it's
Sure,
not bad.
I guess
how many points does
I would
that
say it
work?
depends on the points, man. It also depends if it takes up a slot of anything because it's a war gear slot now. Because like, can they not take something else? You know what I mean? So the the Guardian drone might be worth it if it's cheap because it's just -1 to wound for the whole squad. I would stick that on every squad. Not
So
like,
that one's going to be your fire warriors. That one's going to be your pathfinders.
I mean, I'd love it if you could put this on a crisis suit if they're still T5.
I mean, I'm just going off the assumption of what's physically in the boxes now, and I don't think that Guardian drone is in the crisis suit box. So it's probably going to go on fire warriors, breachers, pathfinders.
It's not. It's just not as a big of a deal with that because they're already T garbage. So you're just taking people back to wounding you on 3s. You only have 1 wound. You have a bad save. You're probably getting killed. If this could go on a legit unit, it would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't see it. I mean, we'll have to wait till everything's released, but I don't think it's going to be allowed on crisis units or broadsides.
I mean, you're probably going to put a marker drone on people like a lot, just so they have the keyword, and effectively, it's going to work like target locks, which is ignore cover. So I think that you're going to do that quite a bit. So I want to see what the missile drone. We haven't really seen it used very often because it was fairly expensive.
It was what, 15 points?
Yeah, it's 30 inches, 2 attacks. You know, what I mean, you'd have to have drone controller on it, so it doesn't just shoot in the sky, shoot in the air like it just don't care. But yeah.
So I will say that by changing the drones this way, I mean, it makes units less susceptible to blast. So like I remember no one took a Guardian drone or gun drones with Fire Warriors because that would make them the magical number of 11, and you would just be very susceptible to blast. And same thing with crisis suit teams. So being a part of a unit, but not actually part of a unit, makes them more survivable against blast weapons. However, it does prevent the ability to deny deep strike zones, to hold objectives from long ways, and
Yeah, but they don't count for anything, do they?
no, what I'm saying, when you're attached to a crisis suit squad, they do.
Yeah, I'm just debating whether because they're war gear now.
Well, they're war gear now. They don't count. You don't physically need to put them on the table. They're
Yeah.
cherubs. These are literally cherubs now.
Right, they don't count for shit.
So, and that's what I'm saying. Like now, I could use in 9th edition, I could use drones to dictate the flow of battle, to determine movement pathways, to extend buff ranges. I can't do that with this.
You know, I get you, dog. You know what? We should get Andy on here and get his opinion on this. If only he would have joined the Skype call.
If only, and my face wouldn't be gigantic because Brad would know how to use technology for 3 people.
Yeah, I did actually. If only Andy would have joined the call, things wouldn't have got ruined. I'm just saying, in the end, everyone, it's basically Andy's fault. That's all I'm saying.
Poor Andy.
So, but
And that's a good point with the nerf to shield drones. Those crisis suits are gonna die pretty quick to the big weapons. Before you were just picking up, the single drone. Now you're losing a whole suit.
I mean, you really need the Guardian drone, I think.
I just don't think it's gonna be attached to crisis suit squads.
I don't know, but I think that would save them.
Yeah,
a
that'd be
lot.
fantastic on a toughness 5 or toughness 6 model.
Yeah, you're just not getting completely flatlined. I agree, John. He goes, removing drones physically from the table is nice. It helps prevent a lot of shenanigans and feel bad for players who are not used to playing into them. Yeah, because they have like a very lot of odd rules for how they interacted with people, especially when you could touch drones. I mean, for a while you could also touch a drone and then the unit couldn't actually fire into you because the drones didn't have the battle suit rule, so they couldn't fire into combat, but you were still considered in combat.
Mm-hmm.
Drone shenanigans were more infuriating in 8th than they were in 9th. 8th, they were unbelievably annoying. Like, holy shit, I hope your drone dies in a fire annoying. So.
So there's another thing with the drones that makes me a little concerned. I don't know if I'm just reading into it too much or if it's too early to tell. But with the gun drone, the twin pulse carbine used to be 4 shots, and now it's moving to twin linked. Back when Tau originally came out in 3rd or 4th edition, if you bought 2 weapons for a crisis suit, it wasn't 2 individual guns; they were twin link guns.
Yeah, and that's just
Does that change your opinion on crisis suits? If that does happen?
It depends on how they look on that. Yes, because I don't want just reroll wounds, especially if you're paying for another gun. You know what I mean? That makes them point not efficient, and that's a big deal. Especially
if they have devastating wounds, I would consider it.
If they have devastating wounds, yes, because doing mortals, and especially if you're doing mortals with higher damage weapons, especially when we're talking about being guided with Kaiyan, double exploding 6s, so I have more chances to get those 6s. The volume, because doing mortal wounds is going to be the great equalizer to start this game, to be honest, in 10th edition, because there's a lot of tough things. If you can just search for 6s with a volume of shots, it's going to be a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about some of these guns. I'm a little sad that they just showed the railgun, though, because they had already showed it.
Did they? I thought that they talked about it. This is the first time they showed it, though.
No, I thought they already showed it. Matter of fact, they said they showed it.
No, they said when they were talking about improving toughness values, they said, "Oh, watch out for the railgun at strength 20," but we didn't actually see a line for it.
72 inches, same. BS4, same. Strength 20, AP5, 6 plus D6. I mean, it's funny because we just watched the night guns, so I would normally be holy shit, but then I'm like,
hey, there's a harpoon that does 24 strength.
This poor weak dick railgun. Get this shit out of here, man.
Yeah, but this has 72-inch range. Actually, I think this is a fantastic.
It's a great gun.
It doesn't ignore invulnerable saves anymore at this glance. I'm going to assume it probably doesn't in general because that was a very strong ability. But it does have devastating wounds again. So if you could get a 6 on the wound, that's a lot of mortals.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is that obviously this still gets because Kaiyan no longer has range. You're going to get more You're going to get more opportunities for big deals on this, man. You shoot your railgun and you get a 6. If it's guided, whoo, that's 3 hits with that strength 20 gun. You might go night.
I mean, I love when people or more bosses were charging my hammerheads and I would hit that 6 on the Overwatch and it'd explode. Yeah, fantastic.
Exactly. I mean, that's pretty badass. So then they gave us a storm surge weapon, because why give real weapons from crisis suits and broadsides when they could show us a storm surge weapon?
Well, that storm surge costs more money. You gotta buy those big models.
Oh, my bad. We haven't seen a lot of storm surges in 9th. They need to churn those out. You big fatty shit. I don't know how many big things I'm going to take. There's a lot of go fuck yourself guns right now. So like, I feel like you're going to put your stuff like your storm surge out or your big tank out, and you're going to be like, look how awesome this is. I just spent like a month painting this. And then someone's going to go, boom, double exploding 6s, take 52 damage. And you're going to be like, this is a stupid game.
Isn't that how it is now, though? Like, it's not much of a difference between 9th.
It is true. Zoom's got a point. Can I ask a question? I have a need to ask a question. The volcano cannon, a Titan hunting laser beam utilizing a piece of a planet destroyed after being declared exterminatus. No devastating wounds. Clearly, sir.
So my question is, pulp or no pulp in OJ? No pulp.
No pulp. So this gun is good. It's already getting a +1. They already showed that we can't, the modifier, I think they've showed that, we're still staying with you can't get extra modifiers. It's still just 1.
Yeah, it's ±1 modifier, and then with the Tau ability, it improves the ballistic skill, so they stack. So you get +2.
So I can
Well, it'd
hit,
be +1 BS and then +1 to hit.
so I can hit on a 2 with this because it's heavy,
Yeah.
which seems legit.
Assuming you're not moving. I mean, yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm a storm surge. You know what I mean? Hunker down. Hunker down, baby.
I'm gonna make the bold assumption that this guy's probably towering anyways, so there's not much of a reason to move.
Yeah.
Except
PP.
for the 24-inch range.
So this is legit. You know what I mean? The fact that it's going to be a big ass cannon hitting on a deuce, that seems legit. You know what I mean? And you're probably going to shoot the dispersed quite a bit when you're, you know what I mean? It's still just picking up units of guys. Strength 10, AP 2, damage 4.
Looking at you, Terminators.
Yeah, I'm looking at you, Terminators. Go on, get.
Especially if it has sustained fire too.
I do love the fact that GW so far has shown us all the guns either have AP 1 or 2 or AP a billion. Like there's no like in between. You're just like, you get all of the AP or you get none of the AP.
You know, I'm trying to think. Have we seen AP3 yet? I don't know if we have seen AP3 yet.
I think we've seen it on the Knights had it with, I think we've seen it on Melee. I don't know if we've seen a bunch of it as shooting.
Because all the melta guns are 4, but all the missile launchers are 1 or 2, and yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look back and do some research. But
yeah, I mean, that is a big deal in that. Tau do have to expose themselves to get their buffs. So that is a big deal. You're going to have to, that's why I think it's a big deal that units like the Pathfinders can buff 2 things so that you can be the most efficient you want to with something, you know? So you buff something, you get deleted in return. And if you can buff 2 at a time, that's a huge deal.
Well, the cool thing is with this buff is that it's on the shooting phase, not the command phase.
Correct.
So you can
let's go back to
position your models so they're hiding, and then you could jump out and do your shooting, and maybe there's a jump shoot jump rule like there had been historically, and you can bring that devastating Crisis 2 squad back. We don't know yet, but the fact that it's on the shooting phase allows you to position your models better to get these buffs.
Yeah. I mean, I dig it though. I think this mechanic's pretty sick. I think that you're really going to have a ton. You're going to have a ton of small units for Tau, and
or a lot of transports, which are.
Yeah, but I think that it depends on the army you're playing, because if you have a ton of transports with the amount of big ass guns we've seen in the last week, I don't know how often they're going to stand there, man.
It depends on the cost. Until we get the cost, we don't know. I mean, if the Storm Surge is 700 points, it's not going to see the table.
I mean, I don't know, because I'm just going to my usual playstyle. I'm like, why bring an expensive unit when I could bring a bunch of trash units? So why not?
You are Brad Chester, the Trash King.
I am the king of the trash.
I think there was a play about you on Broadway.
All I'm thinking is like, how many tiny ass units of Tau can I take to do this? I have to say this. They're like talking about the fact that Alan, the old pajama pants, I literally thought he was going to fight Zuber because he gave him some artichoke and Alan had never had it apparently and was so angry at the taste of it that he didn't know what to do and made the waiter take the plate away because he's like, I can't have this in front of me. I'll die. And we're like, I don't understand.
It's a bit over dramatic,
It was. He definitely won an Oscar for that performance. So,
I mean, it's not that bad. It doesn't really taste like anything.
I like artichoke. But let's go back to Tau.
All
also,
right.
You know what I want to go to real quick? I want to go to this Gunslinger Dreadnought because
all right, pull up.
This guy got released and they showed us him, and then they literally put out 14 units that can one-shot this dude in about 8 seconds. He is. Okay, we'll see what his points are. Maybe he's cheap as shit. You know what I mean? But like, we just saw 2 days now with Knights and Tau armies that could go, oh, look, it's a Dreadnought. Pew! Dead. Yeah.
I mean, with the at least with the railgun, you'll have to roll 6, to move or on the damage chart.
Ooh, I mean, yoinkies. I mean, the dude's got a decent amount of guns, but I'm a little bummed because he doesn't have 47 keywords like everybody else's guns did in the last couple things we've looked at. Where's my devastating wounds? Where's my sustained hits? You're a bum, Dreadnought. You're a bum. Your parents are sad.
So, okay. All right, Brad, let's talk about story time. When was the last time you actually saw Dreadnought with a missile launcher and a twin link glass cannon? It's been a long time.
No, it's not. You have them in the guest bedroom. You have one Dreadnought in there that has
it's sitting on the shelf collecting, that inch of dust
that you haven't played since 3rd edition. But you had one. I specifically remember that because I was like, "Is this guy even able to be taken anymore?"
Those were not that Dreadnought. Those were venerable Dreadnoughts, and I have the weapons so they can make the ironclads. No. So. And ironclads are fantastic.
And it is the we haven't seen any duty eternal on the Dreadnoughts. No, we haven't seen -1 damage. So, or it is 4, of course. I love the fact that you guys were going through his stuff and he just had like random armies, not like models, just armies of like stuff. So, I don't know. This guy looks meh comparatively. He's not bad. He's got stuff. But like the volume of shots that you're getting,
he seems a little underwhelming.
Well, it's the thing is that right now, this is why a lot of the straight big guns have.
Wait, hold on. There's AP3 for the last cannon.
Hells yeah, we found it. The unicorn has been found. I'm riding it home. So, I dig that though. I don't think this dude's terrible, but we've just looked at all of the big shit. You know what I mean? It is funny that because he's a double, a shooty Dreadnought, that he's literally got 5 attacks with 0 AP. Go get off me, or I will ask you again to get off me.
But no, I'm curious to see what the other ones look like because they have the regular Redemptor and then they have the close combat Redemptor. I mean, I would prefer the regular Redemptor over this guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's like literally.
Assuming it's a similar stat profile, at least that way you get a power fist that's gonna.
I mean, he's shooting 4 shots that are decent strength. I mean, he's not bad. It's just we've seen some stuff that was just significantly better just recently.
Mm-hmm.
But it also is going to go on his points total because if this guy's cheap as shit, you know what I mean?
Oh, if he's like 120 points, yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, he's got 4 shots at 48 inches. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of these units, I mean, we just don't know until points come out, but I'm curious to see how prevalent these ideas that we have are going to be. Like, if, a railgun hammerhead costs 150 points, well, I mean, that's reasonable, but if it costs 300, not really reasonable.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to go down to points. Because, I mean, to be fair, I'm going to grab whatever has the most shots that say devastating wounds so that I can get the most rerolls on for the cheapest points.
Yeah, and that's probably going to be the Gatling Cannon Dreadnought, or the Onslaught Gatling Cannon, and then the Underslug Onslaught Gatling Cannon. It's potentially 20 shots with sustained hits.
Sorry. GW wrote an article about how Dreadnoughts are the Texas Rangers and then outwalked Paul Blart Molotov. And he comes in with the, sir, please step back, sir. Please.
Are you going to put him on a segue?
I mean, it is. Tau will just auto kill one of these with a new gun. It's 1,000% true. I mean, the thing is that the combination of that, it makes me feel like I'm going to have to use my standard Brad tactics of
hide in a corner,
use my battle cry of not in the face, and then wait until I've killed all of the little guys that are putting, spotting and observing from the Tau. So I like this. I mean, I like the Tau. I think this is good. What do you?
I mean, I think it's going
to move is nuts. So
I think Tau's going to move away from Crisis Suit and Riptides, but more to a combined arms approach, where you're going to have the transports, you're going to see vehicles, you're going to see mixtures of units, which is what they want you to. They want you to field in a Tau army, not Tau Crisis Suits. So I'm not necessarily.
I mean, sometimes I make you look taller. Sometimes I make you look not so tall. Sometimes I make you look thin.
Sometimes you make me look like I put on 150 pounds in one day.
Look, man. I mean,
Like, hey guys, weight
you
gain
should have
9,000.
known that I was gonna do this. Also, we're live again. Just letting you know.
All right. Apparently, we're live again.
Look, and
Brad's still doing me dirty.
I cut down your weight. Look at it. You're slim. You're fit as fuck now.
Okay.
Look it.
Now that we're back to like.
Are you not entertained? Probably not.
Thank you for fixing the camera. Jeez. Oh my goodness.
Look, man.
And we're back. So while you were away, we were just doing a little bit of Tau discussion.
What did we do? What did we find out?
So the general feeling from everybody in the chat is that the Tau reveal seems a little lackluster because there's not that one, defining unit like a Crisis Suit Squad or Broadsides. There's not.
I wish they would have put Shadow Sun out there, by the way.
Or any character. Yeah.
If they would have. This is the thing we were talking about. It's why I didn't like the Eldar preview. We didn't show any of the bread and butter units. You know what I mean? Like things that you're always on the board that look super sick and shit like that. So I would have loved to have seen Shadow Sun and some Crisis or a Broadside team or something. Mm-hmm. Something that's really just what you think about when you think Tau. I would have liked to have seen either Shadow Sun. I mean, Shadow Sun's like the poster girl for Tau. You know what I mean? Or if you could show some Farsight. I don't care. Just give somebody interesting. I'll give you that. But I still think this is strong.
I mean, I think it's strong. Like, I'm happy with the rules overall. Not happy with the drones. The drones are... I see why they did it to help speed up the game, but in the same token, it took away a lot of their flexibility.
Yeah, they did come hot with Canis Subs. I really wish each one of these would have a special character, you know what I mean? Something like that. So, like, somebody that's just interesting. I mean, that's what they're trying to draw. They're trying to draw super big interest, you know what I mean? You can't bring the freaking plain Jane, here's your mayonnaise sandwich, fucking, guys. I want the juice.
And I do think it's interesting because Pathfinder is not like Breachers or Fire Warriors. Like the actual troop choice.
Yeah. The Pathfinders actually seem legit, though. I have to say that.
They're not bad. They're definitely... I can see modeling them, whereas right now I don't even own a box.
Yeah. I mean, being able to double up on spotting for someone is pretty strong. Plus, they've got a good weapon. We'll see about the points. They've been overcosted for a while.
Well, they weren't too bad this last codex. I mean, 80 points for 10.
Yeah, it's just the fact that
They just felt like a wet paper napkin.
I mean, they're still going to, but they at least get to do two things before they fall like a wet paper napkin. They're like, shoot those guys. You better shoot them quick because our lifespan is tick-tock, tick-tock. We're about to die, homie.
But having access to the scout move does help, push back deep striking, especially if people have that rapid insertion stratagem with like the Terminators. Because you were talking about like the Death Guard Terminators coming in on your turn. That helps preventing those guys from getting an assault with a more valuable unit for Tau.
All right. I'm going to do, and I'm going to put a poll up in a minute.
Okay.
Chat about Kion for just a moment because we definitely know that I don't know how to work a poll.
I mean, you know how to work a poll, but not the poll that we need. So let's... I was forgetting something. So while you're working on that poll, Brad, so we've been working on our top tier army ranking. What grade would you give them?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I still think that their overall thing is very good. The Kion is nuts. And the problem is we didn't see any relevant units, man. Yeah,
I mean, it's the same way with Eldar. Like, Eldar feels exactly the same way. Very strong abilities, but then you have very lackluster units being shown.
So, all right. I'm going to say who had the best reveals so far? Demons, Marines, Tyranids, Knights, and I can only put 4 things in because that's what it limits me to. There we go. So... Hot fire, baby.
All right. So while you guys work on that poll, so what do you think for Tau? Let's give him a grade. So you said Knights offline were an S. What about Death Guard? Do we agree on B plus A minus?
B plus, A minus. They're still
Okay.
super slow, but they had literally every keyword in the universe.
So many mortal wounds, so many exploding attacks. Holy
Yeah.
cow. So what about Tau?
I would say Tau. I mean, the problem is we didn't get a relevant unit, so I can't give him an S for sure.
I think with the changes to the drone words and not having access to that relevant unit, I think we're looking at a B.
I'd say B plus because Kayan and their mechanic were really, really good. You know what I mean? And they still had some legit guns. I mean, it's not like
absolutely.
a rail gun getting double exploding sixes is going to make you real fucking sad.
I mean, the rail rifle's fantastic. The iron rifles are fantastic. Yes. The grenade launchers, not so much. I mean, did you see that the EMP grenade launcher has anti-vehicle 4+ devastating wounds?
Yeah. I'm just saying there's some shit in there that was real legit. So I don't know. They just didn't bring the heat with special characters and a cool unit. You know what I mean? They brought a mid unit. Pathfinder seemed very good. You know,
they're a support unit. They've always been a support unit,
right? But they didn't give us a battle line unit. They didn't give us a special character, and they didn't really bring the heat. You know what I mean? With anything else. So, but they had a great Kayan, spicy. That's super spicy, dude. I mean, that gives them like a halfway decent grade just by itself. You know what I mean?
And you know they're going to be bringing out the quantity of shots with the burst cannons, the cyclonic busters, the rail rifles, the smart missiles, the air bursting fragmentation launchers. They're bringing tons of shots to the table, and that's just going to be exploding everywhere.
They did have the longest ability ever written. I love that they summarized the entire thing a billion times better in a sentence underneath it. You're like, why didn't you make that the rule, fuckers?
I mean, the rule doesn't even fit on my browser right now. Like, I have the browser pull up, and I have to scroll to see the entire thing.
But
so, do we give them a +1 point for having the longest special rule ever?
I think the Kayan gives them a super. The special rule itself is good. I like that mechanic quite a bit. If you look at lore, and I know I'm a fluff nerd about this, but like in the lore, the Tau are a ridiculous combined arms army. Their units support each other. They're literally doing all their tactics and everything else revolve around that. So I think that this is the closest they've ever been to their lore with that mechanic.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see what the other detachments have and what Baka does and who knows what the third detachment's going to be called. I don't think there's a third fighting style that's been talked about in the fluff for Tau.
It's going to be melee Tau. Charge!
Farsight, let's do this.
Don't do this.
Not in the face.
So, yeah, it is true. They are previewing units you barely see in a bunch of these. I mean, maybe they're trying to push some of the shit that they haven't sold. I mean, or trying to get people excited about units that they haven't been able to use in a while. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I would just go with units that cause excitement. Like, even units that aren't used a ton, but are, you know, in the lore, they're in the books and stuff like that. Like, yeah, they're still combined arms, just all these arms are holding cannons. I like what the army's looking at with the special rule and Kayan. I just wish that I got Shadow Sun and another unit, like Crisis. Again, Crisis, Broadsides, whoever.
Stealth suits. Yeah. I would love to see stealth suits.
Yeah. Especially after, I want to know what happened to that poor stealth suit Shazra that went into the Dark Eldar City. And
Brad, you know what happened to that poor
some shit went down.
Stealth suit. You know what happened to that stealth suit.
You're like, oh no, there's a bunch of Phantom Titans. What could be worse than this?
Actually, did you see on the Pathfinder team? That recon drone gives them infiltrate.
Legit also. Yeah,
so
I said that. I already said
infiltrate and a scout move. That's fantastic.
Detachment row for melee Krav Maga. Yes. Just a bunch of Taos doing backflips, throwing hatchets at people. Yeah, like, I don't even know what to do about this. This is bullshit.
Maybe it's an auxiliary detachment. Maybe that's how they allow you to take Vespid and Crew.
I would like to see that. So, but the I don't know. I wish they would Zoom said it right on this because I really think if you gave a special character, a battle line unit, a ghoul strat, in every one, it would have been hot fire. You know what I mean? We've had some super good reveals, man. That night reveal was steamy awesome.
Yeah, I was watching you guys last night, and I was like, wow, they're so excited about it that, I might go buy a Knight as someone who doesn't own an Imperial Knight. With Tau, do I want to go run out to the store right now and buy Pathfinders? No.
It's just not exciting. I mean, it's hard to get excited about. I mean, the rule's super exciting. It would have been super cool to see Kayun and then looked at like a crisis suit unit with a billion weapon options and been like, man, that's going to wreck shit, you know? But like, we're like, hey, Pathfinders. And then the first thing we thought was, those guys are going to get the people's elbow dropped on them in about 8 seconds. They are going to insta die. Like,
I knew. Okay, thank you. Probability Monad is the third fighting style. It's the Lone Warrior style. I just remember being able to take single crisis suits and doing that all the time, but they got rid of that. So now maybe, who knows? Maybe we'll get a little bit more flexibility with squad sizes, and they bring that as the detachment.
Well, Monad is what the
individual guy, where the squad dies.
The poor stealth suit that's in the Dark Eldar city of Quamog is just sitting there going, I guess I'm using that fighting style right before I get riggedy racked. I don't know. I think, what have people voted so far? Demons number 1, Marines and Knights tied. I would say Demons.
Demons? Okay. Well, why are you thinking Demons?
I got excited about Demons because I thought they had a good mechanic. I thought that they had a really good reveal as far as characters and shit like that. They had Bellicor, they had a Keeper, they had a unit, they had a good strat. They now put out a dumb amount of volume of fire from the psychics. I mean, the big creatures had 18 shots apiece with like strength 6 or some shit. You know what I mean? With good damage. And then they have like a nuts rule. Basically, anytime you're in the Shadow of Chaos, you take Battle Shock test at -1 to your leadership, and you take D3 mortals if you fail it. I mean, that's
a very strong.
You know what I mean? And you've got ways to manipulate that. You can get, if you're in the Shadows of Chaos, you can deep strike 6 inches away from people for really good, efficient charges. You know what I mean? Like, that army seems like they can do some serious nonsense. So, and I think that's going to be badass.
I mean, having watched the reveals with you guys and been a part of them, I think you were actually most excited for Knights. I don't know if that's because of your health or just how excited you were. You were super excited about Canis Rex, though.
Because they put out a special character, man. That dude's got like
baller.
He's baller. He's got cool lore. Eddie kicked ass. Like, why aren't they fucking doing that with every reveal, man? Like, you could have put out Farsight right now, and he's got his whole line of books, and people would have been like, sweet, new Farsight. Instead, actually, they were like,
I would have loved to see Shadow Sun, because they hinted at her before being a lone operative.
Yeah.
But then they don't show her.
But either one, man, it would have been super awesome to just see it. You know what I mean? I'd be super jacked to see either one of those. You know what I mean? So, like, give some juice, give the flame, fire it up.
Make me go buy a model. That's what I want to see. I want you to make me go to the store and physically buy a model.
Well, there's a lot of
it's not happening on some of these.
There's a lot of competitive people. There's just a lot of people that like are super. I'm into the lore myself. I'm also obviously a competitive player, but like, there's a lot of people that are just looking at that like, hey man, I've just read the entire Farsight books. I've read this. You know what I mean? Like, give me somebody that's in those books. You know what I mean? Get somebody that's got great stories. You know, that's been forever on the board. You know, an exciting thing. I don't want to hear about the life of freaking Ted the goddamn Pathfinder. You know what I mean?
I mean, if it's a story about, Billy the Crew, yeah, I want to hear about it, but no one cares about Pathfinders. But
and the Canis was badass.
KR brought up a good point. Another article that they did release yesterday was what's going to Legends. Did you see that, Brad?
I did not. Unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to put up more windows.
Well, I mean, the long and short of it is there's certain units that are being re-released, and now they're going to Legends. So the classic Space Marine Dreadnought is now going to be Legends, along with the classic Stern Guard and the classic Terminators. Now, the Terminators are going to be about the same, right? They're just coming out the new box. It's slightly taller. The Dreadnought,
They look more like the ones that are from Space Hulk and Kill Team and shit like that.
yeah, but you can still use the old ones. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the old ones. The Stern Guard, however, I'm a little concerned about because the starter box looks to be pushed to fit. Historically, all the starter boxes have been pushed to fit. So I hope that when building a Stern Guard box, you can take like 8 of the same combi weapon, right? And not one guy has a combi plasma, one guy has a combi melta, one guy has a combi flamer, one guy has a bolter, one guy has a heavy bolter. And if you take 10-man squad, you get double that. Like that would feel really bad.
Man,
What are your thoughts?
you said Stern Guard and tried to get me psyched. I bought. I lost consciousness for a second there. Fucking Stern Guard. This is you just tried to excite me about Pathfinders again. Okay, I want.
I actually like Stern Guard. I mean, they had some really solid rules back in the day.
So
And they're very unique kits. I like them.
I mean, I have to agree with the Bellicor look badass too. If you're not tempted to buy Bellicor because it's an awesome looking model, it also had new good rules. The Stern Guard, I don't know. I'd have to see their weapons. That's the problem. You know what I mean? Because one of the thing that made Stern Guard legit when they were legit is the fact that you could just put whatever the hell you wanted on them. And that made them super flexible. You could optimize them to whatever you wanted their role to be. So we'll see. I think they'll be total trash if you can't do whatever the fuck you want with them.
Same thing with Vanguard Veterans. Vanguard Veterans are the same exact way. The flexibility you have in building your squads.
There's a huge deal on that. So
I would have loved to see Dark Strider with the Pathfinders because Dark Strider just got a new model too.
I hate that all my cool conversions are now too small. Don't worry about it, man. Just put them on a bigger base. Put a base on top of a base.
Ugh. Don't remind me about that.
Speaking of that, you don't have that much time. It's literally Friday.
Yeah.
I play in 1 week.
Okay. Can you guys see this? There we go. Can you see this expert converting by Brad Chester?
Have you not done anything with this yet?
I'm working on the bases right now.
I don't believe you. I feel like you just had a base next to you and you just wanted to show it. I'm so
That's your
worried.
base that you glued a 25 onto a 32 onto a 40.
What? You want to see over some shit, dude. Sometimes you need a little step stool to see over the wall. Exactly. Shall I get you a box? 100%. All of the things and some of the stuff. Also, I'm glad that I just didn't have us live for a small amount of time, so we just have this gap in the middle of this video. If I knew how to edit, I would do something about this to make it look like everything didn't just shit the bed.
You make it seem like we don't have the technology to do that.
I mean...
That's going to be a Monday problem. You know that, right?
I don't know how to do any of these things. I don't know. What do we got? Everybody voted Demons 44%, Marines 31%, Tyranids 6%, Knights 19%. Might get behind that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. That's with 16 votes.
Darkstrider has really cool lore too, and he's actually had some sweet rules, and he's been cheap.
I mean, imagine with him. So how it is now, you can nominate a unit, they could fall back. No, or is that? Am I thinking of previous top book?
Previous top book, I think.
Yeah, where you could attach them to a unit, Pathfinders, give them +1 to wound.
Yep.
But then you could fall back if you were getting charged, which was pretty strong.
Yeah. I mean, he's been legit before. He's also got cool stories. So I'm down with that. What do we got? Who's next? You know what? We're going to scroll down. Everybody.
So next is Chaos Knights.
We're scrolling down together, everyone.
Chaos Knights on Monday. And looking at the comments from Games Workshop on their posts, Grey Knights are going to be next week as well. We don't know what day.
I'm actually really curious to what Grey Knights have to go on.
Probably a lot more psychic shooting, I imagine, or like an ability to make their Stormbolters hit hard.
Yeah, but like that could be crazy because instead of just smiting, they'll have more shots because that's what they've been doing with the psychics. So they'll have Stormbolter shots plus all of the psychic shots. That might be bad.
just better Stormbolter shots, right? Like maybe their psychic power is Cybolt ammo and it has +1 strength to all their Stormbolters.
I mean, I don't know. That any of those things would be pretty badass. Because you could just have a huge amount of volume. You know what I mean? A Stormbolter plus whatever the psychic shooting is. Exactly. Okay, our customs are coming out the day they're going to preview them the day before the release goes live.
I mean, we don't have that many more armies left, right? So what's left? You have Dark Eldar.
You got Orcs, Dark Eldar,
Why orcs have not had a preview is astonishing.
Orcs.
How are they not like the first one?
Yes, I know. Orcs, Dark Eldar, Grey Knights, Custodes, Chaos Knights, obviously, they're coming up. Why am I just blanking on everything? Because they're not doing individual chapters, they say.
They are not doing Blood Angels, Space Wolves, and Black Templar Dark Angels, which is a bummer. I think they could have wrapped it all up into one article, but...
That's 5 more. Who are we missing? I know we're missing something.
I don't think we are, Brad.
We did Votan, we did Sisters, we did Demons, we did IG.
So here, I'll go down the list because I have everything written in order. Space Marines, Tyranids, Chaos, Necrons, Guard, Demons, Sisters, Dwarves, World Eaters, Admech, Eldar, Death Guard, Knights, Tau, Chaos Knights, and then we'll probably see Dark Eldar, Orcs, Grey Knights, and Custodes next week. Oh, Imperial Agents.
Thousand Suns. T-Suns. That brings us to 6.
That's 7.
7?
Yeah.
Sisters of Silence, you get out of here.
Hey, Sisters of Silence are fantastic. Oh, update on that. I will not have them for next week.
Come on, why not?
Because I called up Mike and they're not available to be shipped.
What do you mean they're not available?
He's using them for the doubles event.
Oh my God, why?
Because he's a glutton for punishment. I want Mike to be the #1 Sisters of Silence player.
He is. There's no other Sisters of Silence
There's one
players.
other person.
Who else is playing Sisters of Silence?
There are a grand total
I don't believe
people,
you.
There are a grand total 2 people who played Sisters of Silence in this year at ITC.
Zoobs, if Magnus or Aramon is not in the preview, the preview is trashed here. We're making a new tier. It's not F. It's just straight trash tier.
So it looks like there's 7 more armies. So we got Dark Eldar, Orcs, Grey Knights, Custodes, Chaos Knights, Imperial Agents, and T-Suns.
Not available. Exactly. Lies. They're saving T-Suns for last so those players can already have another faction in mind.
I still don't know why Orcs are in the very last week. Holy cow.
Just like when they said that's going to be October, and then all this stuff came out in November.
all of the October announcements have just been so silly. Like, it's like, hey, we release all these kits, and they come out with 2 kits.
All of the things, some of the stuff. All right, everybody. I'm going to rock and roll.
Well, let's talk about next week. So Monday. What are you doing Monday?
Monday. We'll talk about Chaos Knights.
Are you doing a double video? Are you doing Meta Monday and Chaos Knights? Like 2 separate videos?
Ooh,
I think you should.
That's a possibility. That'll depend on if I'm dying or not. So
don't die.
If no dying, 2 videos. Dying, 1 video. So
who are the best Chaos Knights people? Who should we get on that video?
Good question. We'll have to figure that one out.
I tried to get Justin Cook for this video, but he was unavailable.
Pew, 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 pew.
All right, so it sounds like 1 p.m. Monday, we're going to be doing a video on Chaos Knights, and we'll be doing the standard Meta Monday at 7 p.m.
Then,
are you going to any tournaments this weekend, Brad?
No. I am going to not die. I might do a talk on Sunday, though.
There's a talk on Sunday?
There might be a impromptu fireside chat. I have not decided yet.
If you do an impromptu fireside chat, what are you thinking about talking about?
Getting ready for 10th and then closing out 9th. Okay. Because I think that too many people have thrown in the towel on 9th, and I don't like that. It's still a game, man. It's, you know what I mean? I'm excited for 10th, but also we've got a lot of cool shit happening tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there's another solid month and a week of tournaments coming up.
Yep.
Next weekend, you have Motor City Mayhem. You have the Bay City Open, or Bay Area Open. You have Rocky Top GT. I know there's some events going on in Europe.
Yep.
Like, that's a big GT weekend next week.
We've got super big stuff coming up. There's a lot of super relevant shit going down. I mean, it's a super
You have the team tournament in Kansas City the week after.
Yep.
It's gonna
With
be a very competitive week next couple weeks.
yeah. So I just wouldn't. I don't like a third. I'm definitely not throwing in the towel for ninth. There's a ton of awesome shit coming up. I threw in the towel of ninth like a year and a half ago.
I don't know. The last couple months of playing ninth, I feel like it's been exciting, and I've been using armies and units that I haven't really used recently, just because of the rules changes and there's more flexibility to armies and what's actually competitive. So it's been kind of fun.
Agreed on that. So next week we've got double video.
Double video Monday.
Tuesday is going to be weird. It depends on what comes out. And then I've got Wednesday at 1 with you. Hopefully doing a video of you packaging up my army and sending it to me.
Brad, if I'm packaging up your army on Wednesday, you're not getting it for MCM. Just so you know.
Look, man, I already
no amount of shenanigans will get that army there that quickly.
Yeah, I threw the towel, the chair, and the spit bucket. No towels thrown, everyone. Let's rock and roll.
All right. So it sounds like we have a pretty action-packed week next week, so we look forward to chatting with all of you next week. This weekend, I was planning on going to a tournament tomorrow, but I decided to double book myself and go to somewhere else. You know, Brad, you were there when we were watching that video at Bill's house about like all the weird-ass sports events.
Yes.
So this weekend in the Pigeon Forge area, they're doing the Highland Games. So they're having like all the athletes who like throw the K-bar, like pick up the tree and toss it.
I love everything about this.
So Eloise and I are going to check that out. And one of our friends, Zach, is coming all the way down from Cincinnati, and he's going to be playing in one of the bands on Saturday. So we're hoping to check that out.
I love it. Brad throwing the towel in. Oh, love it. All right, everybody.
All right. Everyone have a good weekend. We will see you next time.
Later, Gators.